Oral argument is done, and now we can make a few predictions about how the Supreme Court is going to rule in June. Texas lawmakers have a plan to stop marriage equality, and they don't seem to care that their plan isn't exactly legal. And the National Organization for Marriage is insisting that they'll still exist a year from now. For the American Foundation for Equal Rights, I'm Matt Baum, and welcome to Marriage News Watch for May 4th, 2015. Last week we had oral argument in the 4 marriage cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, and it went pretty much as expected. 4 justices seem ready to rule in favor of marriage equality, 4 justices seem ready to rule against it, and Kennedy seems to be somewhere in between. That means the court's ultimate decision is probably going to rest with Kennedy, and he's a hard one to predict. But one of the most promising moments came when John Bursch, the lawyer representing the states who want to keep their marriage bans, tried to claim that the dignity of married couples doesn't matter. That was probably a mistake, because dignity on an equal basis has always been a big deal for Kennedy, particularly in cases involving LGBTs. It's possible that with that one argument, Bursch lost the case. He'll find out at the end of June just how badly he screwed up. Meanwhile, some lawmakers in Texas have concocted a bizarre scheme in case the Supreme Court rules in favor of marriage. If the court orders Texas to issue licenses to LGBT couples, a proposed bill by Representative Cecil Bell would bar the state from spending any money to implement the decision. That would be a clever maneuver if it weren't for the fact that it's just outright unconstitutional. No matter how many bills Texas passes, it's not allowed to just short-circuit the Supreme Court. Bell knows that, and he knows that if the bill passes, it'll just be overturned eventually, but he's going for it anyway. And finally this week, the National Organization for Marriage has hinted at its future plans. They include lobbying for bills that would allow businesses to opt out of non-discrimination laws, pushing for a federal constitutional marriage ban, and pressuring presidential candidates to oppose marriage equality. Of these plans, the threat to undermine non-discrimination laws, as recently happened in Indiana, is the most credible. These turn-away-the-gaze laws have been popping up for years, and we're likely to see more after the Supreme Court rules. Passing a constitutional amendment, on the other hand, is just flat-out impossible at this point, like so many of NOM's goals, and they might be able to pressure presidential candidates in 2016, but that's assuming that NOM will exist at that point. Considering that their funding's dried up, their supporters are evaporating, and they're millions of dollars in debt, NOM may not even be worth worrying about in 2016. You can subscribe here on YouTube to stay up to date on all these stories. For the American Foundation for Equal Rights, I'm Matt Baum. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.